So, exactly 1 year ago, I was laid off from my software engineering job. And looking back on it, I can honestly say that this was one of the best things that could have happened to me. And I'm really grateful that it did happen. And look, I know that for a lot of people, a layoff is a traumatic event and can lead to a lot of hardships in the months and years that follow it. And this was very much the case for myself as well. It took a few months for me to find a job after, and in that interim time, it was really kind of dark. Honestly, I was not in a good place mentally. But now that I've had the time to process and rebound from that event a year later, I want to tell y'all why I am so happy that I was laid off and all the good things that have come from that layoff in the past year. So hopefully, if you are watching this and you have recently gone through a layoff, I just want to be able to empathize with you and let you know that there are some good things that can come out of it. So yeah, let's hop into some of those great takeaways that I've been able to have in the last year. So this first point is kind of vague, but this layoff opened my eyes. Before I experienced this, I was very naive. I was only 3 to 4 years into my career at that point, and nothing like this had ever happened to me before. I'd always had really good job stability, and I always thought that I just would have a job. For some reason, it just didn't really dawn on me that at some point that could just be taken away from me, especially because I had never had a bad performance review. I was never worried about that aspect of my work. And so for some reason, it just put this security blanket over my mind where I never even thought that this was a possibility, which again was so naive because it was 2024 and lots of companies were doing layoffs, and especially publicly traded companies were doing layoffs, which is the type of company that I was working at as well. So that really is the first great thing that came out of this, is it popped that bubble that was surrounding me and kind of opened my eyes to what it really meant to work in corporate America and work for these large tech companies, these large publicly traded companies. What I mean specifically is that they don't care about you. They literally do not care about you. It doesn't matter how much they tell you that, the company culture is such a huge part of who they are, or all of these other nonsense family kind of terms that they'll throw around. It's all nonsense. And at the end of the day, you exist as an employee, especially at these large publicly traded companies. You exist to appease the shareholders. And if for some reason your existence is not in line with the shareholder value and expectation, then you'll be gone. And this became so obvious at this company because the layoffs, these are mass layoffs for 10% of the company, happened the day before our earnings call. So obviously these two events were directly related, and that's what companies are doing these days. I think around 2022 was the real height of the job market for software engineers and people in tech. But come 2023, 24, 25, we're just seeing companies increasingly cutting costs in any way that they can. And of course, layoffs are a huge part of that. So in line with this whole notion of the company not really caring about you, just seeing you as a number, the next great thing that I learned from my layoff is because of that, because they don't really care about you and they just see you as a number, you have to do everything that you can to put yourself first. And I can break this down into two specific categories within putting yourself first. So the first part of this is always be prepared. And I actually just made a video about this, I'll link it up above, about how I stay prepared. And this is something that I started doing after this layoff because I realized that I have to do it. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't the case, but I do want to put myself first. And so what I mean by this is if you're always prepared to interview at any given moment, you put yourself in a much better position. So if you do end up going through a layoff, you don't just end up in the job market with no plan, because I ended up back in the job market, not a great job market at that, with no updated resume. I hadn't done lead code in like 2 years. I hadn't thought about, system design interview questions in 2 years. And I had to do all of this ramping up in all of these areas so that I could get myself ready for interviews. And I had to do that while I didn't have a job. So now here I am a year later. I have a new job, but I still do things every single day to prepare myself just in case something were to happen. I'm not actively looking for a job, but I still do lead code questions, not that much because I can only handle so much, but I still do them every now and again so that if I have to pick it up at any given point, I can, and I'm not starting over from zero, and it's not going to take a whole lot of time for me to ramp up. Similarly, I'm always keeping my resume up to date with the latest projects that I'm working on and the latest impact that I'm causing for the company that I'm working at. And I'm always staying fresh on system design concepts, whether that's through projects that I'm working on at work or projects that I'm building on the side outside of work. Which brings me to the second point of putting yourself first. Another great thing that you can do, especially, and this is pretty unique to software, is you can build stuff. You can build stuff outside of work. And if you want to build a software application and become a founder, you can do that because you have the skills to do that. And that's a really powerful thing and something that I really learned and wanted to lean into after my layoff. It's one thing to build somebody else's idea, and obviously that can come with a stable income, which is very nice. But if you have the opportunity to build something that can potentially replace that income, that is a very powerful thing that you have at your disposal. So I can confidently say that this channel that you're watching right now and all the videos that I make on it about building SaaS applications, and by the way, if you're not subscribed and you're into building your own applications and trying to sell them, that's the majority of the content that I make on this channel. So definitely subscribe. But I've realized that that is a potential stream of revenue, and at least something that I would like to try is to build my own application, see if I can earn money while doing that, so that if I am to get laid off in the future, I don't suddenly have zero income. I might have this side thing that I can rely on to just get me through those layoff months. And I don't have to be as stressed in my job search, because I got to tell you, the 3 months that I was searching for a job were some of the most stressful that I've had in my adult years. Building your own projects also increases your skills as a developer, which can directly feed into further job opportunities or advancement in your current opportunity. So all of these things really just fuel into each other and can create this awesome snowball effect that propels your career forward. Now I've got 2 more things that I've learned over the past year after layoffs. And these are more in the area of things that I've learned about the types of companies that I've worked for, and some things that I've learned about myself as a developer that are going to help me throughout my career. Going back to before I was laid off, I was working at a really large tech organization. We were 2,000 plus people. So what comes with that is a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of politics, and ultimately projects that take forever. Things move very slowly. They have to go through a lot of layers of management and product before they even come to you as a developer. And that can get very frustrating after a while. And so after a while of this, so I was at this company for almost 2 years, and I really felt myself becoming the worst version of myself as a developer. And that was a very, very, very frustrating feeling, because I was very excited to work at this company when I first got there, and I just felt myself deteriorating almost. I was not as active in meetings and discussions as I could have been and wanted to be. I wasn't gaining and practicing the skills that I wanted to with the frequency that I wanted to as well. And so even though I was conscious of all these things that were happening, I was complacent. I was very, very complacent. And this kind of goes into the point of the golden handcuffs that come in tech sometimes. Is, you have this good job at a reputable company, and the complacency that can come with that can be a very dangerous thing, and I definitely found that was the case for me. And I've definitely been able to reflect on that in the past year since I was in that position, and I can really confidently say that it has not followed me to my new job, which is really awesome, because I didn't like the developer and the professional that I was at this company. Like I said, I didn't have any bad performance reviews or anything. I'd actually shipped some pretty important projects for our team, but there were just other aspects of it that were really, really draining for me. I can confidently say that at my current job, I am becoming the type of developer and the type of professional that I want to be. So that goes into my final point and final thing that I've learned over the past year is there are all kinds of opportunities within tech. So I'm currently working at the third company that I've worked at so far in my career, and I've worked in a variety of industries at a variety of company sizes. And the company that I'm at right now is a newer technology org in a company that maybe is underrepresented in technology in some aspects. So it's like logistics, transportation. And so we're a smaller team than I am used to, maybe only 100 to 200 people in the entire technology organization. And in a lot of ways, it operates in a startup kind of mentality, but with a lot more like balance and control around it. And I've found that this is a really good pace for me, where we're building a lot of things, but there are also guardrails around it and still a lot of people to talk to and make decisions with. Within the first 4 to 5 months of me being at this company, I was also given the opportunity to lead a software team, which is the first time that I've been able to do that in my career. It's been a very challenging but rewarding time for me as well, as I've stepped into a role that I honestly hadn't really even considered before. But those are some of the things that you have at companies of this size, whereas at the company that I was laid off from, that wasn't even in the realm of possibilities. So truly, folks in this space can get hyper fixated on these large tech companies with the large compensation packages and all of this kind of stuff. But there are honestly so many different companies in different industries that hire software engineers and need engineers to improve their processes, and that's not going to change. So if you ever feel stuck, complacent, like you got the golden handcuff and you want more out of your career, I would definitely consider looking at companies outside of what you might normally think and other industries outside of what you might normally think. And you'll be surprised at how many opportunities there are and how much you can grow as a developer at some of these companies. So just to summarize everything that I mentioned in this video, I was laid off, and at first it was very, very difficult. But looking back a year later, I am really glad that I went through that experience and I came out as a better person and developer and professional on the other side. I was able to notice that I had the golden handcuffs and that I was pretty miserable, but I was complacent, and realized that there are better opportunities out there. And I've been able to grow in my career since then, which has been awesome. I've also learned that companies don't really care about you that much. So you have to do everything that you can to look out for yourself to make sure that you can provide for yourself and your family. My eyes definitely opened a lot from this experience, and I learned a lot in the process. So like I said, if you are going through something similar, I apologize. It is so brutal and it is so tough, especially at first, but things can get better, and things do get better as long as you are able to look for some of those silver linings and good things that can come out of it. If you learned anything about yourself or any other positive things that came out of your layoff, I would love to know and love to read about them down in the comments. But thank you so much for watching all the way through. I really do appreciate that. Hope you have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you in the next one.